This is Middle Class Matt from Don'tBuyTheHyped.blogspot.com, and I am the sports genius, and I hope to be this year the fantasy sports genius. I'm playing fantasy football. Now, I've played this before. Most of you have. But this year I have got into a real deal fantasy league. And some of you probably know out there how hard it is to get into a fantasy league. You watch the show on, I think it's FX, called The League, and they're real exclusive about, only certain people. But I'm in one of these leagues where everybody knows each other. They talk junk. It's great. So I'm going to quickly run through this. You'll be seeing me looking down at my notes. There's no way I can memorize. I'm going to talk about my team. You give me your opinions on my team. I'll tell you some reasons why I picked my team and things of what I did. Maybe that can help you if you haven't done your fantasy draft. And I'll talk about some steals and some trends that I saw in our draft, and maybe it'll be similar in your league. So let's go through it and let's have some fantasy talk because this is so much fun. The draft we had was the most fun I've had in a long, long time. It was great. It was like 3 hours. We had 14 teams, 16 rounds, and it seemed like it took 15 minutes and it was over. So here's my team. Drew Brees, quarterback. Reggie Bush, Mark Ingram, running backs. A.J. Green, Jordy Nelson, Vernon Davis, tight end. The other two were receivers. Flex player, Eric Decker. Von Miller, defensive player. My defense, the Eagles, I'm pumped about. I think they may be the best defense in football this year. Kicker, Dan Carpenter. Texans is my coach. We do a head coach. And then my bench players, I got some real steals. I got Titus Young, Andy Dalton, LeGarrette Blount, Jonathan Dwyer, and Rashawn Mendenhall. Now, my running backs aren't great. That's the first thing that sticks out. I'm hoping that Reggie Bush has a big season, but then I have a bunch, hoping one of them works out. That's Mark Ingram, LeGarrette Blount, Jonathan Dwyer, Rashawn Mendenhall. I took the two Pittsburgh backs because the new offensive coordinator there loves to run the football. So I took them. My wide receivers are great. I took A.J. Green in the second round. That's a little early. I think it was kind of a stretch for that, but I'm thinking him and Andy Dalton are going to have a real connection. I think he had 7 or 8 touchdowns last year, A.J. Green. I see him being double digits this year. A lot of my drafts were on potential. Guys that were like rookies, and they had 7, 8 touchdowns, and I think they're going to set that leap from being a good player to an elite. And that happens a lot in the second year. That's one of the biggest progressions of a football player is his first, second year. And then Titus Young's in the same place. I have Andy Dalton on the bench. I think he's going to be a top 10 fantasy quarterback performer. I think he could throw 30 touchdowns this year. So I am, now he could have a sophomore slump too, but I'm pretty pumped about that. Drew Brees threw 46 touchdowns. That's hard to beat. Now in our draft, some of the tendencies I saw was like in the first round, even though we had a very running back, a traditionally, fantasy players who love running backs. For example, Aaron Rodgers was our first pick overall, which most drafts that's the way it'll go. But after that, Arian Foster, LaShawn McCoy, Ray Rice, Adrian Peterson. So we still have an old school league who believes running backs are where the points are. But to show that the trend that now quarterbacks are becoming more important, I heard a fantasy analyst one time say that 10 years ago or 5 years ago, something like that, that they wouldn't even have one quarterback in his top 10. And I drafted in the first 14 picks. We had Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, who I drafted, Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford, Michael Vick, and Cam Newton. I probably would have taken Stafford at my 6th pick, and I thought maybe that Brees and Brady would be gone. I may live to regret not taking Brady, but they were still there, and I was sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, I can pick from Drew Brees and Brady. I don't even know who to pick. That's so good." So here's some other Here's some other tendencies. The two tight ends, the big time names, Jimmy Graham and Gronk, were both taken in the second round, and that's normal. I took in the third round Jordy Nelson. He had 15 touchdowns. He has Aaron Rodgers to throw to him. I think that's a good pick, but one thing I may regret is right after that was Darren Sproles, and he's just a weapon for New Orleans. Okay? In the 5th round, we had David Wilson taken. I wanted to mention him because I think he's going to be a big-time performer. He's a great athlete, super fast, and going to be in a team that likes to run the ball with the Giants, or Conklin, the coach likes to at least, and even as good as Eli is, they're going to have him as their main back, I think, this year. Our 6th round, where there are a lot of steals. So listen to these names. Jermichael Finley, Doug Martin, Deshaun Jackson, Matt Schaub, who I think is going to have a great season, Eric Decker, who I think was going to have a monster season with Manning throwing the ball, Last year he had sort of subpar quarterbacks. The last 8 games with Tebow, still had 8 touchdowns. I think this year with Manning, big time season. And I stole him, I think, in the 6th round. Ben Tate, Robert Meacham, Aaron Hernandez. We had Jay Cutler going the 7th round. I think that's a great pick. Toby Gerhart was taken in the 8th round. I think he could be a real fantasy performer, and that's a steal. Titus Young in the 8th round, who I took at 107th pick. I think he's going to be a baller. Matthew Stafford throwing him the ball. 2nd year out of Boise State. Should have a huge season. Then in the 9th round, Jermaine Grisham. I took Andy Dalton in the 9th round. He's sitting on my bench. Like I said, I think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback. Greg Olsen in the 10th round. That's a steal. Now that Shockey's not there, he should get lots of balls from Cam Newton, who still hasn't mastered an NFL offense. In the 12th round, Tim Hightower, Randall Cobb, Jonathan Dwyer, who I think is also going to step up and be a much better running back. He's in shape, he's staying out of trouble, and the Steelers are going to want to run the ball this year. And then we had Carson Palmer taken in the 3rd round. I think that's a steal. So there's some of the steals I named, some of the tendencies. So tell me what you think of our draft. Tell me what you think of the trends. Tell me what you think of my team personally. And be sure to post your comments. I'd love to hear them. I love fantasy talk. I'm having the most fun doing fantasy football this year. And give me any advice you can, or make any comments about the picks I made, and maybe you can learn something. This is Middle Class Matt. Check out all my other videos. I predicted the entire NFC, every division, and then named a champ. I'm going to do playoff predictions. I'm going to do the AFC. I'm going to pick games every week. I'm going to do fantasy talk. I play a character where I'm talking junk to the fantasy, playing like a wrestling heel. And I have tons of cool basketball videos you won't find anywhere else on the web. So check me out, Middle Class Matt. Don't buy the hype.blogspot.com, and I'll see you next time.